you so long?
Well, it's a long way, but I'm here. Would you like that printed out or emailed?
Email it, please.
What's your email address?
Hello, I'm Joe, and welcome back to another episode of Oh Ashley. First of all, thank you for everyone who commented and replied and DM'd us with response to the last video. That's really encouraging. And a reminder, if you have an agent fail that you'd like to describe on the show, please email us and we'll get you on. We're talking today about a particular kind of agent fail, which is, I would say, tool misuse and selection issues. And today my guest is Diego Oppenheimer, who's also my partner on the AIT Fund. Welcome, Diego.
Thank you very much. I think this is we've all suffered this one. In particular, I think the actual use case was we had our agent that was having to send quite a bit of email, but somehow it was taking a long time. And it was kind of interesting because I think if we hadn't dig in, and we'll talk a little bit about how we dug in and understood it. What we ended up realizing was that the CLI that it was supposed to be using it, instead of using the actual tool that was available there, it was essentially just rewriting the tool from scratch every single time. Every run.
I think we've all experienced that with our agents. We spend so much time upfront specifying and on guardrails or evals that over time they become really slow. And then maybe we look at our bill at the end of the month and we're like, uh-oh, right? Or if you're using a monthly plan, maybe you don't notice it. Maybe you're just hitting your limit, right? And maybe you have multiple accounts. But I don't think people spend too much time on optimization.
I think this problem has actually gotten worse with Fable 5 and Soul.
Sure.
I see more of it.
Yeah.
Right? Of course, I mean, it's probably related that the fact that we make them do more things and kind of let them go off on doing our own.
Context generally makes it better.
Yeah. Right? But, I think this wrong path selection, right? What this problem is, right? Which is the right information is in the context, but it's taking the wrong actions, right? And it's either rebuilding a tool that it already has and doing that, or it's completely ignoring an explicit constraint that we gave it.
Well, that seems to be the consequence of having a super intelligent, AI in your inner loop is it will gladly just create the tool from scratch every loop, right?
Yeah.
Is that what was happening? It was literally...
it's not a capability gap, right? Okay. It's the model could do it correctly and it's choosing not to.
Yeah. So what was the actual fail in this case?
So I think so I think the first thing is, how do you discover this, right? And so one of the things that I've had to do is I have to instrument, I think a lot of people are not doing this, which is, we joke around that we're not even looking at code anymore. Well, you're much less even looking at logs of what's happening. But the information that is being produced in these AI logs is so critical to agent behavior, and most people are not storing it. So a big part of the first thing and how we actually discovered this problem was we instrumented everything, right? So now all our agents, our coding, our codex, our Claude, everything is logging first, and then we can go in and look at those logs and understand, what it is. I'm using an open source tool called Hyperware. There's a bunch of different ways of doing it, but I think one of the critical things here is that, especially enterprises right now, they're not actually storing these logs, which have that critical information, right? But I think once we break it down into, so that was how we discovered the problem. Yep. Right. And it was interesting because I think
what caused you to dig into the logs in the first place?
Well, I was, it kept on I could see it kind of the little feedback you got from the tool. I could see it churning on trying to do this thing. And I'm like, no,
shouldn't be this
don't,
hard.
Don't do this. This is the base. And then when I went in to saw the logs, I saw that I was retrying to build out this CLI over and over again. Again, from scratch, the tool that's already there in the context that it should just be calling. It's ridiculous.
So it missed the fact that a tool exists and it decided to build the tool each time.
Totally. Yes.
Wow.
And so, once we dug in to what that looks like, right? It's, the kind of categories that we're seeing is the prior overrides the context, right? So I think that's one of the things, especially in these bigger ones. The, there's a default inside the model training data, which is probably go figure this out.
Sure.
And then the only thing saying go use this other instruction is this one line in the prompt.
Yeah.
So it's the prompt fighting the training data to a certain degree, right? In terms of like, in under uncertainty, the prior is going to win.
Yeah.
Right. So that's one area. There's attention dilution, right? These prompts are getting, especially long system prompts. I think at this point, I don't even, how long mine, it's giant.
Well, every time you have a minor tweak or a change, you're adding that.
Exactly. And so the long system prompts, the big tools, the kind of deeper historical conversations, they're kind of generally like, there's a lost in the middle effect.
Yeah.
That's actually happening. We're adding more tools. I mean, I know Ashley has,
lots of, I don't know.
I don't know. It's just, 100 tools maybe at this point. Like probably, right? I mean, it's. There you go, right? So not only do you not even know what it's calling, but it's like on top of that it might be like. But I think like that diversity and the number and the being able to kind of like address that, right? Sure. What the descriptions is. One thing that you pointed out earlier today, there's no cost for these actions, right? And so we're kind of joking around. It's like, go rewrite this tool from scratch and build it, blah, blah. Like, it's like the model doesn't think that costs zero.
The agent doesn't feel pain.
Correct.
They'll gladly just build the tool.
Just passing the pain to us.
Passing the cost to us.
And the pain.
Yeah.
I think the other thing is that these models, they have a plan first bias. So they'll commit to, they'll come up with a plan and they'll commit to the bit. Right. And that doesn't necessarily mean that was like, did it go in, inventory all the tools and all the paths and the correct path and then reevaluate its plan against.
So how did you fix this? Because, you were describing like you had a line in there and it was just overlooking it some of the time.
Yeah.
So what did you do to definitively solve this?
Well, the first one was finding out it was happening. Yeah. Right. I think that's actually.
Well, let's talk about that.
Yeah. That was the number one. I think that's actually the number one thing.
You noticed this was a little slow or cumbersome, and then
it was just bad. And I was like, and again, I was happened to be playing with these observability tools, and suddenly I was like, okay, let's go look at so explosive token cost. The model's getting more expensive.
And then when you looked at it was open source. What's it called again?
It's called Hyperware.
How would you go through the installation process?
You just go to hyperparam.app and they have like a whole OSS stack that you can kind of like.
What does it do? It slurps what?
Yeah, so it essentially kind of like installs a very easy to install on all your kind of like agent endpoints.
Okay.
And then it will either locally send all your logs to like local Parquet files, or it can actually like ship them to the cloud.
Okay.
Right. But the core here is that like you're doing something with these logs.
Right.
Right. Like because the if I go to like OpenAI's platform, it's just their logs. And if I go to Codex and to go to Claude, it's just their logs. And if I have an open source, it might be, and a lot of these times these logs are partial. But really what I wanted was like my agent uniforms because I'm using multiple models.
Yeah, of course.
Right. I don't have like one braid, and I'm switching out the harnesses.
Well, and you might be
like
calling a tool that has a log and it's not in the model.
Exactly. And so this idea of like kind of session level aggregates.
Yeah.
And then by the way, these gets like wildly expensive. Like if you are accumulating that much of data. So this happens to be that this open source library is like very efficient. And so it costs almost nothing to store it in an S3 bucket if I wanted it.
What was the end to end from you, like starting to install the tool to getting a useful result?
Oh, like 10 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Like I actually found out this email thing. Like that was the first thing because I said like look at my last two sessions and I was like, well, what's going on here? And like the first thing that it detected was like, well, this is dumb and it's happening.
So it specifically gave you what in the output?
It said that I asked it to go look at patterns in these calls.
Okay.
And one of the patterns is rebuild GWS over and over again. With GWS being the Google Workspace CLI.
You don't use GOG?
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Like the fact that it was like
using its own version of that type of an interface?
Correct. It was just trying to rebuild it.
That's crazy.
And like going out instead of using the one that was installed there.
Yeah.
Right? And so that got me like thinking about like, oh, well, this is, but this is a tool problem that you've seen.
Sure.
Like it forgets credentials.
Sure.
It doesn't use the right, you have a credential, it's right there.
Yeah.
Or like, I get this, I don't know,
Yeah.
with Claude Cowork in particular, it keeps on deregistering GitHub for some reason.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like, I'm like, commit. It's like, can't commit. I need GitHub.
The biggest one that I see all the time in my work life here on the agent on my computer is it jumping off to the browser to go sign in, navigate, and do stuff when I've already set up an MCP or another method.
Yeah, and so I think like that's kind of like, detecting it is the first thing, right? And so this is the, go look at your damn logs, right? Type of thing, and which nobody is. And then going and analyzing it. Because again, I used a model to analyze my logs, right? So I said, hey, what's going on? What are the anomalies? That's what you're looking for, like bad patterns, where this could be.
Yeah.
Well, happens to be, I resolved this thing, and I saved, I looked at it in time, like I probably saved, hour a week of compute time.
Sure.
In terms of how much these agents are like that efficiency.
Yeah.
And that was like within 10 minutes. So anyway,
Sure.
looking at the logs matters. But more importantly is this failure, I think, is really interesting because it's rare. I have not met anybody who hasn't had this failure mode for their agents. I mean, we see this all the time.
Like the awareness of that failure mode is probably pretty low is what you're saying also. Yeah. What would be implication? I mean, I could think of other implications of that failure mode besides performance. Obviously, you could have security. You could
we have, I think in coding agents, we see this quite a bit where they try to rewrite a library versus using the most basic library that's already available, battle tested and stuff like that. So now you have like corner cases and again, the plus and minuses. You could say, I don't want to take a dependency, but the same, if you're rewriting an entire library, take the dependency, it's battle tested. So I think that happens a lot. And then credentials is like another one. Data pipelines where you're told to append to a table or stuff like that. So I think there's a lot of these around that.
Bring it home. What would you recommend every developer do?
Look at your logs. If you're not, if you're working with agents, you have to create like a logging ecosystem and an observability ecosystem for all your agents. And then you want to create a loop around analyzing those logs on a regular basis and looking for anomalies and looking for improvements to see where you have to steer the model.
Right.
And I think that's like core for anybody who wants to bring these agents into the workspace. You're going to have to build that loop.
If you're spending all your time in specifications and qualifications of the goal result, you're going to find your agent is going off to do all sorts of stuff.
Inventing its own route on a regular basis. And, they're never lazy, but they're not efficient.
Yeah, makes sense. All right. Well, thank you, Diego. This was great.
Awesome.
Again, if you've got an agent failure you want to share with us, please let us know in the comments. Thank you.